Good morning and happy Monday. Welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. We're so happy to be with you today because big things are afoot in entertainment
Circle
news.
K.
Yeah, Circle K, other things. What does that mean? We'll get back to that later.
Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted. Yeah. Thank you. Black Panther is hitting big at the box office, you guys. It's breaking records. We're going to talk about how many here today and then again with Dan. It was Charting with Dan. Deadpool test screenings. Let's hear the reactions to that. And would Iron Man work today? Black Panther screenwriter asks. We'll get into that as well. But let's start with Black Panther. Oh, who are we? I'm Roth, Cornet. That's Dan, Murrell, Spencer, Gilbert, Joe Starr. You know us, and we know you. We're looking into your soul right now. Black Panther passes The Dark Knight at the box office this week to become the highest grossing solo superhero movie of all time. What? Yeah, this is not adjusted for inflation, which we will get into again later this afternoon, but it earned another $41 million at the box office this weekend. The total domestically is $562 million, whereas The Dark Knight was $534 million. So this is the seventh highest grossing movie ever at the domestic box office. It's a big deal. It is now only has to surpass The Avengers to become the highest grossing superhero movie of all time at the domestic box office. Again, worldwide, not too shabby either. It's earned more than $1 billion globally in less than a month in theaters. Are you guys getting how big a deal this is? It's a big damn deal. Some people are saying it's going to surpass Jurassic World and Titanic. And possibly become the third highest grossing movie of all time at the domestic box office. Boom! What do you guys think? What are your thoughts?
Well, something definitely needs to surpass Jurassic World because I don't think it speaks highly of society that Jurassic World is ranked up there.
That's amazing. Did people just see Jurassic World over and over again?
Like, it had Black Panther also had a massive opening weekend. It was in the summer. I mean, summer movies have the advantage, and that's one of the reasons why it's so impressive that Black Panther's doing what it does. Summer movies have the advantage of running essentially all week, more or less, because there's so many kids out of school, you know, so the grosses on summer movies tend to be astronomically high. You see the same thing during the holidays because people just have time to go to the movies. More people, they go back to see it again. You know, Black Panther's kind of in unprecedented territory as far as what it's been doing on the scale it's been doing at the time it was released.
Yeah, it really is. It's quite a phenomenon. And also I think with Jurassic that a lot of people were going back to be like, I don't know yet. Did the nanny deserve to get eaten? Let's find out.
Maybe this time she will.
Maybe this time she'll have earned it.
She did not.
She never does,
They just really latched on to blue.
I like blue. Okay. Judge me all you want. This is pretty amazing. A Wrinkle in Time did a little less well than expected. We'll get into that again this weekend. Some people think that Black Panther was just dominating the box office so much that it's maybe cannibalizing other movies. It also had very mixed to poor reviews.
Reviews probably didn't help.
Did not help. A movie like this, where it doesn't have franchise attachment, where it is a difficult to adapt book, where it is, you know, it's got Oprah in it, but the leads of the films are kids, they're new. The reviews, I think, actually do have an impact. There's lots of movies where they don't.
It did better than The Giver and Ender's Game.
Correct.
Yep.
So,
Very true.
you know,
There we go.
bright side.
Sunshine Spencer. That's what we call it.
Oh, the giver.
Sunny Spenny G.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty extraordinary what's happening with Black Panther, and I'm just curious how much Marvel now doubles down on that character. That's where I kind of want it to be like, let's just, you know, let's not assume it's this one thing. Although I'd like to see that character more heavily featured. Certainly, we're going to get a Black Panther 2.
Yeah, Feige's announced Black Panther 2 officially.
Well,
So.
What?
But I'm thinking even, Black Panther 2 is definitely happening. I'm excited to see that. And then Infinity War, where there's so many characters to deal with, do you think he becomes more of the fulcrum, assuming that certain other characters are going to die in Infinity War?
Post-Infinity War. Because I was going to say the Infinity War train has left the station.
No. I'm saying for the next, whatever Infinity War 2
like
is that we
half-set
don't know the
Wakanda.
title yet of Infinity War. Used to be Infinity War 2. Now we'll find out.
Infinity plus one.
Infinity
What?
X.
No. Infinity plus 2.
Infinity Squared. That film, I'm wondering if he becomes more of a central character, more of a primary character, which seemed like it was already going to happen, but assuming probably, and if I had to place a bet, Cap and or Iron Man are dying in Infinity War.
Well, that's some deep speculation, Roth, but I like it. I think that obviously
Good morning.
They'll let the I don't know if they're exactly letting the market decide what heroes are gonna lead the Avengers next.
You're not letting the market decide.
Infinity plus 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder if there could be a ripple effect, story-wise, that they're like, oh, people seem to like this whole Wakanda place. Let's spend some more time there, outside of just doing a sequel to Black Panther.
Which is great, because I do want to see more from this character. But the thing that worked about this movie, I think, is that it just had really strong characters, a great story. It was focused. It almost felt like it could be completely disconnected from the rest of the stuff. Dan, what's your take?
Well, I'm just doing some quick calculations in my head, just looking ahead. Black Panther's averaging around 40% drops at the box office, which is great. So in 2 weeks, if it holds that trend, we're looking at it probably not passing $600 million in 2 weeks, because you have weekday grosses, but I think it's going to make enough to pass $600 million with the next 2 weekends grosses. So I think it's gonna have enough to pass Avengers. Jurassic World and Titanic, I don't know, but I think, again, when you look at these movies, Avengers, Titanic, Jurassic World, all summer movies or holiday movies. Titanic ran well into March. I just think I hope that Marvel looks at this and says, as they're wrapping up this phase, that the focus is on character and story, because the dividends are showing. It seems dumb, but
let directors direct.
Let directors direct, make a great movie, and people will come out and see it, and tell a wide and diverse group of stories to connect to different. We've said it before, and Kumail Nanjiani said it on the Oscars, which was so great. It was just like, economically, if nothing else, which is what studios have proven, if nothing else, economically, tell a great set of stories that can connect to as wide a group of people as possible, and you're gonna, as he said, you're gonna get rich.
Yeah.
But this movie, I think in particular, just what Ryan Coogler did with it was so strong.
Strong character arcs.
Yeah.
Make it rain on strong character arcs, Roth, always.
But box office wise, and we're going to get into the inflation, because I know that already people say, well, adjusted for inflation. Yes, adjusted for inflation. Yes.
Yeah, adjusted for inflation, Gone with the Wind can't.
You'll never catch Gone with the Wind.
You're never going to catch
adjusted
Gone
for
with the
inflation,
Wind.
no movie will ever catch Gone with the Wind. However, I am already compiling some stuff for charting today to kind of, we've been updating it week by week, but it passed, again, a pretty impressive group of movies, even adjusting for inflation. It's going to be one of the top 50 moneymakers of all time in the next few days, probably, definitely by next weekend. So we're gonna further put this into perspective this afternoon.
Today. Yeah, let's talk about more superheroes. As far as this one goes, I am so pleased to see the success of this film, because it's a really good movie, and then hopefully we'll just keep getting more really good movies, and I'd like to see him become a more central character in the MCU. We'll see how that all plays out. Deadpool 2. Okay, so reportedly, caveat, there was a test screening this weekend for Deadpool 2, and an anonymous source called it, quote, a big mess. Blogger Jeremy Conrad took to Twitter over the weekend and revealed that the initial reaction was not what he expected to hear, but he has been forced to take down his tweets by Fox after he was threatened with legal action. So again, caveat, reportedly there was a test screening, and it was not all that well received. Josh Brolin did confirm at South by Southwest this weekend that he is currently doing reshoots in Vancouver. Again, very normal part of the process to do reshoots, not abnormal at all. While the news made some fans a little bit wary, let's look at what test screenings do and do not mean over time. First of all, test screenings can, in fact, help a movie. They can improve it. They can offer positive feedback. Sometimes they're wrong about a movie, or sometimes it's a movie that just has inherently it's going to have very divided opinions.
Yeah.
A couple of examples. Final Destination, test audiences hated the ending of the film. They didn't want to see the lead character killed off. New Line spent $2 million reshooting it. It went on to gross $112 million at the box office. Shaun of the Dead. When this was having its first test screenings, Edgar Wright knew that the ending was off. He said it was missing something. And in an interview with Guerrilla Filmmakers Handbook, he revealed that the audience really liked the movie, but said the ending was, quote, lame, which is really helpful feedback. Yeah.
Thanks, audience.
But in response, Working Title gave him the money to do a new ending, and he liked it better. And then people respond, so that's good news. Blair Witch Project. The original cut was nearly twice as long. And when they had a screening for it, they were lucky enough to have producer Kevin J. Fox in the audience. He signed on to produce the movie and took the entire middle part of the film out. And it became the phenomenon that it is. We
I
all
like
know.
that movie, but man, if that
Well,
was
yeah,
twice
3
as long,
hours,
oh,
yeah.
Oh my
that's
God.
a
Terrible
lot of
idea.
wandering in the woods.
I don't care who you are.
A lot of leaves.
A lot of
I
hate.
hear rocks.
I think with a movie like that, I could imagine, especially if you've just shot and shot and shot, it all starts to look the same.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
where are you cutting? And you really do need somebody else to come in and be like, you're cutting all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kill your woodsy babies.
Yeah. Kevin.
But Deadpool 2, man, I don't know. It's a different team, slightly different creative team, different director. The nice thing about comedy and Deadpool being a guy in like a suit is you can just change the dialogue at will. So if they're not laughing at that, you can just dub in some new stuff.
Yep.
Comedy's subjective. It could just not be for everyone, but I don't know. I can see this go. If this isn't funny, then like it just doesn't work.
But I mean, they called it a big mess, which, yeah, the movie doesn't come out for 2 more months. Like, show me the blockbuster movie that 2 months before its release is ready to go, packaged, and here it is. Like, first of all, I think the fact that this guy was forced to take it down probably confirms that he did see a test screening, because more than likely he signed something that said, I will not go on social media saying anything about this movie. This guy broke it because he wanted to make headlines or whatever, and Fox rightfully said, you broke the terms of our contract. Like, these test screenings are not, they're not final cut screenings, and I think that's, I don't think people understand that. I think people go to a test screening of a movie thinking this is the finished movie.
Well, they're showing it to an audience that shouldn't be expected to understand that a lot of times. So that, to me, that's like, why are you showing it to someone that doesn't have the experience to look at a cut and realize, oh yeah, the graphics aren't done yet. This isn't complete. The sound isn't done. All the
Because they're
things I'm
making it
used
for the
to.
people, Roth.
I put no faith in anything that comes out of a test screening for a movie. Zero. None. I don't know what version of the movie they're seeing. And yes, sometimes they show an imperfect version of a movie to a test audience for things like Edgar Wright saying, you're right, that ending doesn't really work. Or Final Destination saying, yeah, this ending's not working. Maybe let's go back and rethink. Like, that's what test screenings are for. You test certain pieces of the movie and see if you need to go back. And I think that people go see test screenings and they expect to see the finished movie, and you're like, well, that's not finished. Well, that's just a big old mess. Well, yeah, they're still editing it, and then it gets out online. Well, it's a big mess, and look what with Annihilation test screenings. Well, that took that film away from most of the audiences in the world because they got skittish from a test screening audience. Again, JTE saw it. He said it was pretty much the final version of the film, but that's not the case with every movie. So I think there's this concept amongst audiences that, they test screened a movie and there were problems with it. Yeah, that's why you have test screenings.
Right,
It's
to
not
figure out the
it's not
problems
to
and
get
fix
an
them.
advanced review of the movie. It's to see if there are problems with the movie.
I think also, if we look back, there was a lot of reporting on Wonder Woman from the set and things like that. Who knows what was happening on the set? An unhappy set, first of all, could yield a good movie.
Wasn't the buzz
a great set could
supposedly
yield a bad movie.
Wasn't the buzz supposedly on Wonder Woman? Like, weren't there people coming out like publicly before Wonder Woman coming out saying like, I heard it's a mess?
Yeah, it was
Like, I heard that about Wonder Woman.
It was said many months, but way more than 2 months before, maybe 6 to 7 months before the release, which means that even if that was true at the time, which may have been, they had time to fix it, which great. That's all.
Yeah.
Who cares if something's messy midway through? The final product is the one that counts.
Yeah.
I understand why studios do test screenings, but I also think that A, the public, and B, oftentimes the studios put far too much faith in what comes out of those test screenings, because you're usually not screening the final version of a movie.
Sure. Famously, people didn't initially like Blade Runner. They added a bunch of VO, and then critics were like, "What is this piece of shit?"
Yep. I think it takes a good director strong director to sort of, after that test screening process, to sit with the studio and say, not doing this note, not doing this note. That makes sense, not doing this note. So we'll see what, if Leach is like, oh, we got to start over.
Right.
Or, what he takes and what he doesn't.
He's not going to have much power, though. He really isn't. he's not going to have, like, if the executives make a decision, they can just take the movie away from him, first of all, as we know.
Well, he may not, but I think,
Yeah.
well, more than Leach, I think it's probably more Reynolds' call. I know that with the sequel, he's a lot more in the driver's seat, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
I
He
don't
will have
like
power.
hearing that it's in reshoots 2 months before the movie comes out. Just generally, because that does seem to be cutting it a little bit close. But again, he says he's doing reshoots. Who knows what that is? It could be one shot. It could be half a scene, or they could be rewriting the whole script. Who knows? But yeah, test screenings. I don't know.
Could just be funny marketing bits.
It could be. It could be any number of things. We're not sure. We'll see when the movie comes out. You're right. It is a new director and a new creative team. So, caveat around that. Do you like his work?
Whose work?
David Leitch.
What else has he done?
He did. He
Wick.
co-directed John Wick.
Co-directed John Wick.
Atomic
and then
Blonde.
he
The
directed
hilarious John Wick.
Yeah. It has its moments. I don't know. Sometimes I think I have a really dark sense of humor.
Sure.
But because I came out of Nightcrawler and my friend Dennis, hey, what's up, Dennis at Collider? And I came out and we were like, oh, it's like a satirical dark comedy. And my boyfriend was horrified with us both. He was like, there is nothing about what? It's a satire.
There's like some uncomfortable laughter
It
in
is
Nightcrawler.
very
Yeah.
It's not
dark
like-
comedy.
Yeah.
So John Wick had its moments, is what I'm saying.
Got it.
However, and then Atomic Blonde.
The hilarious Atomic Blonde.
Yes. Well, Black Panther screenwriter, we'll see, said he's unsure that Tony Stark would work in today's world. This is at a panel at South by Southwest. He said, think back to Tony Stark. This is Joe Robert Cole, screenwriter of Black Panther. Think back to Tony Stark, him being douchey and that being okay. If that character Stark was created in a movie today, I wonder if the response would be like, oh, it's cool that he's douchey and disrespectful to women. That's fine. I think we're at a different place. I think it's a better place. I feel like Tony's arc in that movie was entirely not being a douche anymore by the end of it. The arc was that he was a douche and he was a war profiteer, and then by the end of it he was like, and now I'm a better man and I'm Iron Man.
Yeah, but I think that there's some truth to the fact of like, if that came out this weekend, we'd be like, just the audience wouldn't be on his side as much as they would back in 2004. You'd be like, well, why would I care about this guy? He's a war profiteer, like dropping cluster bombs on the Saudi peninsula, and be like, yeah,
And banging his flight attendants.
and banging flight
like,
attendants. It's like, at the end, he becomes a good person. I'm not saying I still really love the movie. I think it'd be great. It's great when you stick with it. But yeah, if you release that literally this weekend, like people be like,
Yeah.
huh?
I think the arc would have to be a lot stronger now if you release this. Like I think we're a little less okay with, hey, I'm the worst human being, but a bad thing happened to me and now I'm slightly better.
I don't even think it's like a we're okay, we're not okay with it. I just think it's like the audience knew. It's like it was the Bush years, right? So we were all like, oh, we knew these guys like the like Halliburton, baller death merchants, and like that was like an archetype that we were like, yeah,
Is that a Netflix documentary? Halliburton baller death merchants.
Vetoed by the Roth.
Yeah, that's sweet. I want to do steroids. I want to like run guns, and I want to like the
War
the
dogs.
Instagram guy I'm always making fun of, Dan Blitzarian.
Yeah.
It's like that was just like a type in the early 2000s.
You war
that's-
profiteer on Instagram?
Yeah, but they're just not as cool anymore. And Tony Stark was really cool when he came out.
That's true.
Yep.
Asterisks, we're coming back to that at a certain point today.
But was anyone ever like, oh yeah, he's cool? Like before, like anyone like pre-Iron Man Tony Stark, was everyone just like, oh yeah, I totally condone the fact that he's an a-hole war profiteer, disrespectful.
I think a lot. It was the Tyler Durden problem. People are like, oh, he's such a baller. He's always like bangs all the chicks on his jet.
But that's a problem with misreading character. That's not a flaw in the movie. I mean, that the character of Tony Stark is a flawed guy who takes advantage of the people around him, who takes advantage of the world that he lives in. I mean, that's his whole story.
Yeah,
That's
and
the story of heroism is he learns that not by the end, he completely takes Pepper Potts for granted. By the end of the second one in that 3-movie arc, he's learned to respect her, that he is faithful to her. They're now engaged. He learns his lesson about war profiteering. I mean, that's his whole arc within Iron Man 2 and 3 and Age of Ultron was like, I did this thing and it was terrible and I have to make up for that. And inside that, it has its own flaws and moral dilemmas. Like,
but Dan, you're a discerning adult. And, Batman is a guy who shatters poor people's tibias for taking a job to, like, guard a club. And people are like, Batman, he's fucking cool, because he's cool.
Well, yeah, he's Batman, and he's generally not beating up people who didn't deserve it. He's not grabbing random people off the street and beating them to a pulp.
That's a different
story. Well, the quote for today for me is, well, yeah, he's Batman.
No, but it's this idea of just like... I get that times change and their sensitivities change too, but also at the same time, I don't think that the movie Iron Man was very discreet about the fact that they were presenting a picture of a very flawed individual. People. We were talking about this the other day. 100% people took the wrong message from Fight Club. I mean, Fight Club was about the destructive nature of of humans, and like the duality of man, and like how your worst instincts can take over. And a lot of people saw that movie, and the message they took away from it was, I'm gonna go start a Fight Club. So many people took that message away. I get that, but you can't dummy down every movie for the worry that somebody is going to glorify the wrong thing. If you present a compelling story,
we're just saying
we have a video coming up, and it's just making me laugh right now, in which Fight Club is mentioned, and my whole take is like, yeah, man, I want to burn it all too sometimes.
We could get off on the Fight Club topic because
no, get on the Fight Club.
Well, the irony of Fight Club is that Tyler Durden is like, oh yeah, you're going to escape like your conformist society, and you're going to be liberated from it, and then he creates a bunch of like shaved head, mindless slaves.
Drones.
For himself, yeah. Anyways, what are we talking about? Black Panther and Iron Man. I had a point. I forgot. Oh yeah, I think Iron Man, for whatever social impact it had at the time, Iron Man was like real shock and awe that I think glossed over a lot of that stuff, because it was like, oh my God, Marvel's making good movies now. Like Iron Man looked so good and was just such like a well produced and like awesome action movie that like we didn't stop to think about Tony Stark and if we even liked him or not, because I was just like, holy shit, they made a cool Iron Man movie. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think so too. It was kind of the surprise that they had achieved a character that had the kind of complexity that we could argue about his like relative moral well-being and soundness versus just a really cookie color, boring, two-dimensional hero character. This was somebody that was really flawed, and I think at that time that felt incredibly revolutionary.
I think
and I
now,
can learn from it.
I think now they might take a little more time, exploring that and exploring that arc, which I think is a positive thing. But I do agree with Dan that I think it's less a problem with scripts and movies a lot of the time, and more a problem with like what audiences will latch on to. I think the Fight Club problem is real. It's not necessarily Chuck Palahniuk's fault for writing Fight Club, but
well, you know what? Later today, I think I might be doing some pickups around Fight Club.
Oh wow, you're such an edgelord, Roth.
All right. We have things for you to watch and enjoy today as well. You should go on to the Screen Junkies main channel immediately after you click off of this video and watch a couple of things. You have Tommy Wiseau there. He's in disaster movies. It's hilarious. Watch it, share it, love it, heart it, be it, become it, learn it. Gary,
speaking of it,
there's a video about it. It's a travel guide of Derry, the town in which Pennywise invades, the town that it takes place in. It's weird. It's wonderful. Everybody put their brains together and came up with this kind of scary piece of comedy.
Yeah, it's way more frightening than anyone intended.
Yeah, on paper it was just a very silly tour video. It turned out very scary.
Go watch it. It's great. It'll be fun for you to watch. Scares are visceral. They're satisfying. Go check that out. Love it. Share it. Live it. Charting with Dan is going to be later this afternoon. And you can always check us out on Facebook where we have daily videos. There's lots of things everywhere, but do the things that I said initially first. Dairy, Tommy, Dairy, Tommy, Dairy, Tommy. Thanks for joining us today.